Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm T with Teresa H Creates, and I'm taking a short pause in my Anna Griffin journal to bring you one more Christmas in July project. So behind the scenes, I've been working on some different binding techniques, and I was working on a project that led to another project that led to another project, and then I got really excited about this one and thought that I would share and make it a Christmas in July project. So this is it. This is the cute little journal that I've made. This is a card journal. I have lots and lots of card bases in my stash. I used to purchase them quite a bit and use them, like the pre-made card bases at Michael's and then those that come in kits, and I don't use them. I make my own card bases. And then Anna Griffin has these lovely card bases, and I ended up using some of hers because they're beautiful. I mean, look at the card bases themselves, and I'm not really going to use these as cards because, like I said, I like to make my own card bases. So I thought that I would turn them into a card journal. This is Anna Griffin's Finishing School Craft Box Heirloom Lace. This is where I pulled these papers from. These images are a digital kit that I used. I've got this ribbon here, the little crinkle ribbon. This isn't fully decorated. It's pretty just bare bones. But here you go. This is what I've got so far. These are little tucks. But look at the little girls in here. Aren't they adorable? And then there's little spots for cards and journaling. I've laid it out so the basics are all there. More little cards for journaling. But I haven't gone in and done all the decorating. I've done some minimal stuff here and there. But a lot of it I have not. This is another different printable. This is My Porch Prints, and I can't remember what these are, but I'll figure that out. But I wanted to show you this particular project and then do my final Christmas in July. So let me set this aside. I started with the Anna Griffin because those card bases are nice and decorative, and so I really like using those. And then I went to my stash, and I have got this in my stash. Just a ton of this large craft paper card bases, and I'm never going to use them. I actually keep them for guests and things when they come over and want to make cards, because I don't let them have my really expensive paper cards. So I let them play around on these types of cards, but I still have just a ton of them. But I wanted to show you how I get started with this. So I went ahead and inked up all the edges of these, and this is super simple. This is how we're going to get started. We are just going to glue them together. And you can glue them entirely together. I wanted to create pockets in mine, or have the option for pockets, so I was only doing mine on 3 sides. That was it. And then putting them together. And I was doing it this way so that if I match up the spines of these, that seemed to be the best way to do it. And then there we go. And then so forth and so on. This one, I'm doing 10. I believe that the Anna Griffin one was 10 also. And I'm just using my art glitter glue. And we'll add the next one. And we keep going. It was definitely a if you give a mouse a cookie situation in here. It just kept leading from one thing to another. So I still have several more projects that I'm trying to finish to see if they are video worthy. One of them I am incredibly excited about, if this binding technique actually works the way I want it to. But like I said, it's a lot more involved. So I'm still working on that one, but this one comes together very easily. And I thought this would be perfect. So I'm using this craft cardstock because this is, I've got so much of this in my stash. But I thought this would be perfect if you bought like Christmas greeting cards, the really like inexpensive ones at Christmas time, or if you pick some up at clearance and you thought, oh, these will make great bases for cards and I'll just add a few embellishments to these and then here you go, Christmas cards. I thought this would be perfect for that. So any of your leftover Christmas greeting cards, as long as they're all the same size, this would be fantastic for that. Or any card bases, period, that you get that are maybe decorative. and you're not sure really how to use them because you're like, well, do I cover this up with a card front, or, you know, do I just embellish this? Because I see them a lot and they're so pretty. And I bought them on a couple of occasions. Like when I was a newbie, I would buy the pre-printed card bases. And then, yeah, I don't even think I really used all of them. I think I ended up giving them away at some point. But there were just so many options. But I really thought, so if you've got these craft card bases, if you've got old Christmas cards, old, I don't know, like old Easter cards, what else? Valentine cards. This would make a really cute little Valentine journal. Even if you don't have any card bases that you're trying to clear out of your stash, if you wanted to just fold some over and make some card bases, you can do double-sided decorative paper, your single-sided papers. This would be great for single-sided papers because then you could flip the pattern on the inside. The Anna Griffin cardstock was a lot thicker than this stuff is. This stuff is not as thick, so this one feels a lot thinner than that one did. Set this down and then bring it all together. All right, so there it is. Awesome, right? And this particular card base measures 6.5 by 5. So it's 6.5 high and 5 inches across. I didn't cut it down at all. So now we're going to do a little bit of decorating and figuring things out. Here is going to be the piece that I'm going to attach to my cover, the front and back. And then in between all of these, we've got all these little pockets. Some of these we may decide to seal, and some of these we may decide to leave as pockets. It's just optional when you go through it, what you want to do with it. Something I will share with you though, this is easy because this is one solid color. So it was super easy. With the Anna Griffin one though, to get all of the images on the inside, just so that you're aware, you do have to turn your card bases inside out. You're gonna fold them like this. So you're going to want the pattern on the inside. So if you have printed cards, you're going to want your patterns on the inside of this. And then as you put it together, I was going through and just trying to decide, you know, which way I wanted it. And then, you know, I would glue like this and this, knowing that I would put a piece of paper here, you know, and some of them I would do, you know, this and this. And then when I had a couple that would meet up, let's see, when I had a couple of these that would meet up in the center where it was none of the decorative pieces were matching, it was just these white pieces, it wasn't the decorative sides. These are the ones that I would kind of trim down and make little pockets, you know, inside, in between, which you didn't have to cut. And, you know, if you wanted to get really fancy with it, there are so many options. You could even go in and maybe trim these or cut a decorative edge or cut one longer and one shorter, you know, and as long as you're getting all of that glued together, then when you open it up, you could have a pocket that had, you know, a decorative edge, and you could have one side of the card that went all the way, you know, to 5 inches, and then the other one only went to 2.5 and had a decorative edge, and then that way you've got a built-in pocket there. So there are just lots of options for this, just playing around for this. I see where it can go so many different directions. I might as well leave this out just in case I have other things that I wanted to show you, but I searched my stash and I found the paper collection that I wanted to use. So I decided to use this Prima collection. And this is Christmas Market, and I've had it for a little bit. What year is this? I'm not seeing a year. Yeah, I'm not seeing a date on it. I don't think it's that old though. But it's a really cute little paper packet. And this one is the 8x8, but it does come with 4 sheets of each of these in here. And so you can see I've used quite a bit of it already. I went ahead and cut some of my decorative pieces down to size and inked the edges, because I did not on my Anna Griffin. I didn't ink any of these edges because these are so many different colors in here, like these grays and these purples and these blues. And typically if you want to make it cohesive and you want to bring it all together, you would ink the edges, and that kind of makes it, you know, flow throughout. But for this one, I didn't want to. There's so much gold and decorative bits in it. I thought, you know, I'm going to leave it as it is. I do want to go back in and probably add some more fabric for texture, so some laces and things like that. I think I will. But this one I knew I definitely wanted to have inked edges. Then I've got lots of ephemera for it. So I'll have lots of stuff for decorating. Here's more ephemera. Just lots of ephemera. I've got some puffy stickers. These are fantastic. And then I have a tag pad as well for this collection. So there you go. I've got lots and lots of stuff. So I'll need lots and lots of pockets. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these pages attached. And then we'll start working on the cover so I can show you what that will look like. So I decided that I wanted to have the same front and back page, and I wanted it to be pretty neutral so that I could decorate it however I wanted later. And so I am going to just use my tape runner and my art glitter glue, and I just cut this down. I cut off 1/8 of an inch from the height and from the length. From the length and the width. I just cut down 1/8 of an inch. And so we can go ahead and go in here and put this together. And then let's go do this back side. I've got another one just like that. This paper is so cute. There we go. Sorry, it was upside down. All right. My handy dandy tape gun. And then some wet glue, so I've got a little bit of breathing room when I go to attach it. Does this have your wheels turning? I'm kind of tempted to get a whole collection of just really inexpensive Christmas cards and making one of these journals. I can't remember the name of the crafter. Last year she did the cutest thing. She bought some Christmas cards on Amazon, and she ended up making little journals out of them, and they were the cutest little things. And so this is just, I guess, like a bigger version of that almost. Let's see. I think I'm going to put this guy here. We'll just do a few of these together, and then we'll work on the covers, and then we'll work on assembling it so that you get the idea of how the base goes. But I do want to get just a couple of decorative pieces in here, and I found that it's probably easier to work with without the actual cover on, because the cover is stiffer and it's just a slight bit, you know, larger. There we go. All right, now let's do maybe one of our decorative ones. And you can do this any way that you like, obviously, because this is yours. But I thought about maybe doing like little pockets. What do we have here? Like something like, trying to see what side did I ink this up on. Here we go. What if we did something like this? And these are my scraps. And then I took it and made like a little pocket with it like this. And we could do a little notch here. I'm going to do a little bit of a notch. So these are just some of the scraps that I cut off of the papers. So see, you can do this like any other journal. Add all your little flips and tucks and everything in it. So super cute. Really versatile, really easy. The binding isn't difficult, right? Because we just glued it and glued the pieces together. I mean, and you didn't even have to leave the open parts like I did. If you wanted to just glue them solid, you could, and not even worry about, you know, not even mess with having to have pockets in the centers. I just thought that they would be nice places to put, you know, larger journaling cards or just little secret storage areas, you know, to stash ephemera or tickets. And some of these I will actually, I will close up, and then some of them I will leave open. But isn't that adorable? That's adorable. Let's go ahead and just do one more. And let me show you. Nope, not like, nope. Wanted something a little bit more neutral. Let's do that there. We'll go ahead and do that there. And then I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as the pockets go. All right, we'll do one more of these. All right, good deal. Okay, I'm going to put a notch here because I want this to be the part where there's a, you know, where it's obvious that there's a pocket. Now, of course, you can always leave this the way it is so that it's flush, and then you can have just the little tab sticking out so someone knows that it's a pocket. I like putting the little notches in them though. But if you take the smaller end of this, of your circle punch, and you slide it in to the opening of that pocket, you can just do the smallest little notch, and then there you go. Let me ink that up. And then there, now it's obvious that that is a little pocket. And how cute is that? And then you've got the little craft showing through, and the craft is perfect. You didn't have to have anything, you know, on the back of that to decorate or what have you. But I will ink it up just so that it's uniform like everything else. And then some of these, like I said, like in the other journal, I took the center sections and I cut them down. But if you had like a decorative edge, you could even do like a little wave, or you could do, you know, whatever you want. Have fun with it, play with it. You can do like trim or whatever. For mine, I just cut down, and I may end up going in and turning these sideways. Right now, I've just got them like that because I haven't cut them down yet. So I've got them stuck in, you know, on the sides like this, but I may trim them down so that they'll fit in this way instead of on the side like this, which is really what I had intended. Or I may figure out something else to put in these, and I might put these in the larger pockets. So anyway, all right, back to it. Let's set this part aside, and we will go ahead and prep our cover. So I took some chipboard, and I cut it about 1/8 of an inch larger than our book. So if you can see there, just a tiny bit larger than the actual signature in here. All right. And then I selected this. I wanted a nice neutral base. I really liked this green, so this is what I'm going to do. So here we go. I'll show you one of these, and then I'll fast forward through the second one. I'm going to take my chipboard that I've cut down to size, and I'm going to put some of the, I'm not going to use my tape runner on this. I'm going to use more of the heavy duty kind of tape. My double-sided tape here. And then I'm going to burnish it down. It was nice to have one more Christmas in July project. Well, and I think that I cut this down so that it's about 1 inch on each side. On the height, because it's an 8 by 8 and this is a 6.5, it's probably what, 3/4 of an inch. So I did cut that down to an 8 by 7 size. Let's add our wet glue. Get it on there nice and good. All right, now we're going to try to center it up. If I had straight paper, that would be even better. All right, I pressed it down. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to burnish it on this side. All right. Let me put the lid on my glue. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to go ahead and fold. So I'm just kind of working it here on the sides. I'm just using that nice chipboard, the stiffness of that, to fold these edges for me. All these sides, get them folded up. All right, I'm going to come in with my bone folder and kind of burnish those. All right, now I'm going to miter these corners. I'm going to go in just a tad. I'm not going to go all the way to the center. Do want just a tiniest bit of overlap. I never know until I fold this whether or not I've done it quite right, and I don't think that I did this one quite right. I don't think that these are the right scissors for this is part of the issue here. But if I don't get this right, I do have a workaround, so not a big deal. Will that fit there? Nope, that's quite large. Let me grab my thinner tape. I probably could have doubled that up, but we'll be fine. Put this down on each side. So glad my double-sided tape came in. I ran out and didn't have any for a little bit and was waiting for my order to come in. This is a different brand. I just buy it on Amazon. It's a different brand, and I don't know yet if I love it. I haven't used it enough. I think this is only my second video project using this. I've used it on others. So I'll put some wet glue on here. We're going to fold it over. I'm going to really burnish those edges and then also burnish this down. We'll go on to the bottom. I know I've seen some people with like a corner tool, like the corner miter that you put up there and it like gives you the exact cut. You don't have to have that in your arsenal. If you're at the stage where you're still a perfectionist and you need that, it is available. You can get one of those. Isn't that nice? It's nice. It's a nice to have if you're very particular about that type of thing. But if not a big deal. Not a big deal. Let's see. I'm a little bit, got just a tad bit more than I would like there, which is better than not having enough, honestly. And then this little offcut here. Okay. Sure, I'll have to do some more fixing. Put my wet glue down here and fold over. Yeah, it was a little rough. But I did get all of my corners covered, so I'm not worried about it. This was a success. Now, if you folded it over and your corners were not, so typically it should do this. I didn't accomplish that, but it's going to be mostly covered, so I'm not really concerned. Now, if you did have open space though, and we could see some of the chipboard, one of the things that you can do after it's done, and I had this happen with this one here, and I went back and I added these little gold corners. I just cut corners in this gold foil and put them down in the corners, and then it hid the part where they didn't quite meet up. But nobody knows that. You wouldn't have known unless I told you, unless you also used that trick and then you knew. You knew what I'd done. It just looks decorative. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and then I'm going to speed up the process of doing the next cover. All right, I've got my covers done. I'm going to put a little ink on the edges of these. Just want it to blend in with everything else and have a little bit of that vintage look. It's kind of a little vintage collection. Well, it does say vintage market, right? So I'm going to make sure I do the inside of this as well. How cute. I'm really, really liking this. I do think that I'm going to go ahead and order some Christmas cards and do this. Maybe those same vintage cards that everybody was making the little journals from last time. And I can't remember the crafter who did that. Was it, I can't remember if it was, is it Lyric Lover Makes or something like that? I don't know. I'll have to look at that again, because it was a really cute little project. Okay, now we're going to do the closure. So I've got this little bit of string here, this little crinkle ribbon. I think that this green is a good green for this, and it's also got a little bit of this distressed brown in it. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to take off a bit of this, enough for a closure. Is that about right? I think that looks good. All right. Now we're going to center this up. Let me make sure that that's the right way. And then I was just running, you can use like the double-sided tape there. I would just use my tape runner. And I was kind of just running this. This is super, super crinkly, but I do want this to be mostly flat so that it lays down nicely when we attach our signatures. There we go. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. And that might be a little high, but you know what? We're just going to go with it. Okay, I'm not going to attach it here to the spine, and I'm going to leave it just a tad bit loose. I'm not going to pull it super tight. I'm just going to give just a tiniest bit of slack there, right? So you can see that it's got a tiniest bit of slack. And I want these to kind of meet in the same I want this ribbon to kind of meet down here in the same spot. So there we go. All right, and then this is our closure. Now we're going to add the other two, because I liked these this is pretty long on this one. These are purely decorative. This is the actual closure, and then these are just decorative. This top and bottom. I just thought it added a little something to it, right? Okay. So I am going to put a little mark there. Oops. And then one there. Do we think there? Where do we think? I don't think it's going to be exact, but that's okay, because I eyeball everything and my eyeballs are crooked. Is all right. You know what? I am actually going to see there. Look, we have some nice straightish part of this ribbon that's going to be a little bit friendlier. Okay, so I'm only going to do partial and still keep it loose, so it doesn't need to be tight. And I'm just setting this with the tape because I'm going to glue this all down. So it's going to hold. So again, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to not pull it super tight. You're going to leave it with a little bit of slack in there. See? Now let's attach the other one. And I mean, you didn't have to use ribbon. You can use anything you want. And actually, you know what? If you wanted to, you didn't even have to do the ribbon closure off of here. You could just do these as purely decorative and do whatever colors that you wanted on here. And then, you know, do a different type of closure, something that you just wrapped around or whatever. Okay, let me set this aside. I'm going to tuck this inside. All right, I'm going to go back to my large tape, my large roll of double-sided tape. I think this is 1 inch. 99% sure that that is the 1 inch tape. You know what? I'm going to add this down here just for safe measure. That's it. All right, I'm going to burnish this down. This is so cute. I hope you guys are liking this. And this isn't original. I don't know who the first person who did this was, but card journals are not original. Maybe the way that I'm assembling it might be, but the card journal itself is not. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac because I want a thicker glue for this. And I've got that ribbon under there, and I just really want this to hold super well. So on this part, I am going to use the Fabri-Tac, and I want to make sure that I'm getting up to the edge of all of this. You want it to be flush, but then you also want it to have enough space on each end, right? Okay. So let's see. Let's go down to our opening page. That looks good. That looks good. It doesn't look crooked or anything. Looks like it lined up well. I did squish some of my glue out. Let's see if I've got a paper towel here. I can get just a little bit of that glue, because you do want right up on that edge. All right. Let's go ahead and do the next side. See, this isn't difficult, right? This is pretty easy. And it's a nice little journal. You can get a lot in here. All right. And great use of all the extra card bases you've got laying around. And like I said, if you were tempted, just like I was in the very beginning when you first started crafting, to buy the decorative card bases because you were like, oh wow, look, half the job is done for me, and then you realize that the decorative card bases don't really match any of your paper, then you know, there you go. Or if you're like me and you make your own card bases and you've got a ton of Anna Griffin card bases because you keep buying her kits for the embellishments and the dies, but you don't really use, and the papers too, but you don't really use the card bases, then this is the perfect use for all of that. Repurpose it, reinvent it. Or, again, if you're that person who picked up a bunch of clearance Christmas cards at the end of the year last year and thought, I'll use these, now you've got a great way to use. Okay, we want it right on the edge. Again, and then want it even, so there, that looks good. Look at how easy. All right, I'm going to open this, press that down. There we go. Now, If you wanted to, you could take your binder clips, like from your bookbinding kit, and you can put those together and hold that and just really get a good grip on that. And I'll probably do that after the fact and then just leave it overnight, you know. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and flip through it. Oh, well, look, and I did have it the right way. So there we go. Look at that. Isn't it going to be adorable? Isn't that going to be precious? And look, it'll lay flat. And this is what it looks like. But it'll lay flat, and it's adorable. It's adorable, and it's in there, and it's got pockets and tucks and secret spots. So I just wanted to come on and show you how to assemble this. I'm not going to do all the decorating on video. I'm actually going to finish decorating this one, and then I'll also finish decorating this one, and then sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll do a flip through of both of these. I really just wanted to get this out for Christmas in July because I thought this was just a precious idea. And for some of you who start doing your Christmas crafts early, you know, and you want to incorporate this into your Christmas craft making, then I thought this would be a good time to show you so that you could put this on your list of things to do or to try. All right, I'm going to put these binder clips on it and just leave it overnight to make sure that I've got some good adhesion on the ends of these right here along the edge, that is nice and secure. This one here, also nice and secure. If you have any questions for me, please put them down in the comments section. I always answer. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, and until next time, bye.